You should see a picture of Johnny Cochran up here. I'm
We do.
probably dating myself, but the first thing I thought of when I read, uh, or when I first started hearing, one of my partners used to say, if no fit, quit. Well, when I first started hearing that, it made me think of Johnny Cochran in the OJ trial, holding up the glove and saying, if it doesn't fit, you must quit. Well, in bridge, if it doesn't fit, you must quit unless your partner has forced you to bid. So today we're going to talk about hands that don't fit well. What does it mean when two hands don't fit well together? Or what does it mean when they say that it's a misfit? And why do we even care? Well, if you think about it for a minute, I think you'll figure out that hands that fit well together are like anything else that goes together. When you have gears and cogs and things like that, if they fit well, then the machine operates really much better than it does than if you have a slipped gear somewhere or something like that, and it just doesn't go very smoothly. Well, it's the same thing in bridge. Hands that fit well together will take more tricks than their high card points will indicate many times. Conversely, if the hands don't fit well together, then you need more high card points to make the same number of tricks that you might have otherwise made with fewer. What does it mean to have hands that fit well together? Generally, the first thing you think about is an 8-card fit, particularly in a major suit. The 4-4 major suit fit is the holy grail of bridge, as Don likes to say. 5-3 fit isn't bad either. So eight card fits, particularly in the major suit, are the first requirement for saying that you might have a well-fitting hand. But when you don't have an 8-card fit, more strength is required. For instance, that's the reason it takes the same number of points to take 9 tricks in no trump that it takes to take 10 tricks in a suit contract. You need more high card points to be able to take the same number of tricks. And that's why game in no trump is only 9 tricks rather than 10 for the major suit. Now, here's some other things to think about when you're talking about well-fitting hands. Aces opposite singletons are just wonderful, as I'm sure all of you know. You have eliminated any losers that you may have, because in a trump suit contract, declarer can rough out any small cards that he has in that suit when there's a singleton opposite the ace in his hand. Very often when you have a queen or a jack in a suit and the cards in the hand facing you have no honors in them, very often those cards are not worth the cardboard they're printed on. They're just not guarded. They're not supported by other honors, and lots of times your honor can get trapped between your two opponents' hands, and that's just no fun at all. We all know how that works. Opponents are usually pretty good at taking care of any lone honors you have like that and finessing you out of them. Now, honors that work with other honors in your partner's hand are said to be working honors. Even though you have only one honor in your hand and partner has only one in his, they work well together. So together, the suit is much stronger than it is separately. So that's a good thing when you have honors in the same suit that your partner does. And also, here's something that you may not have thought of. When you and your partner hold 10 trumps between you, when you hold the queen and jack of trumps, very often those 3 points are wasted, because only in about 9 or 10% of the cases will the missing trumps break 3-0 when you have 10 trump between you. So holding the queen and jack is nice, but very often you would rather have those points in an outside suit. So when you have a big trump fit, you don't necessarily have to have all the honors. for it to be a really good working suit together. Obviously, big fits are fabulous. They make life a lot easier for you. So the rule of thumb here that I put in here, if you can't find a fit, then you have to quit so long as your partner did not force you to bid. I'm going to show you two examples here. The first one is of a forcing auction and how you can bid when you can see that your hands are not fitting well together. And the second one is a non-forcing auction. So let's take a look here. This opener is the north hand on the left and responder is the south hand on the right. And you can see these hands don't fit well together at all. But this is the way the bidding would go in order to find the best possible fit. We're not always looking for the perfect contract. We're looking for the best possible contract. And sometimes you have to do a little bidding around to find it. So north is the opener, and he bids one heart. He has a nice 6-card suit here. South said, oh, yeah, of course you bid hearts. And he bids a spade. And north says, yeah, of course you bid spades. Well, 2 clubs here.
From the Williamson.
I have a nice 5-card club suit here, so I'm going to show it. And now South says, no, I don't have support for either one of those suits, but I do have 5-5 here, and I have 11 high card points. So this gives me enough to force to game. So he bids the 4th suit. Normally, when that happens, he's bidding the 4th suit to indicate that he wants to know whether partner has 3-card spade support for him or whether he has a diamond stop for a possible no-trump contract. But it doesn't matter. He's just continuing the bidding and making a forcing bid. Notice that he has plenty to force to game. It's just a question of, can we find a fit? Now, north continues the description of his hand by bidding 3 clubs. This indicates to south that he has 5 clubs in his hand. That also means, of course, we know he has at least 5 hearts because he opened a heart. In this case, he can have either 6 hearts and 5 clubs or 5 hearts and 5 clubs. And all of a sudden, South says, oh, yeah, well, okay, I see. I understand why you're not raising spades or diamonds. But now South needs to complete the description of his hand as well. He does that by bidding 3 diamonds. This shows 5 spades and 5 diamonds. He wouldn't rebid diamonds unless they were the same length as the spade suit. When you have a game-going hand, you don't have to bid a 4-card major right off the top. You can bid a 5-card minor to set a game force. In this case, he bid spades first, though, so that shows 5 spades and 5 diamonds here. North says, oh, that's very nice. Of course, I have a singleton in each one of those suits, and I'm not nuts about this. So I'm going to clarify the situation for my partner by bidding 3 hearts. This says, not only do I not have support for either one of your suits, but the odds are really good that I have 6 hearts. I have a very distributional hand, and I have no support for either one of your suits, just as you evidently have no support for either one of mine. But now South says, oh, well, okay. If you have more hearts like that, then I'm going to put you in hearts rather than clubs because I have only a singleton club. I at least have 2 hearts, and we'll have at least a 5-2 fit. I know we have the values for game because you open. I have 2 5-card suits and 11 high card points. So they end up in 4 hearts, even though the hands are misfitting. Notice that there's no guarantee that they're going to make 4 hearts, but this is a forcing option. There's a reasonable chance that 4 hearts will make, especially if you can get rid of some losers on the nice diamonds over here in the dummy. But that's the way that misfit bidding goes when you're in a forcing auction. You have to be very careful to describe your hand accurately in terms of the length of the suits. Now, here's a non-forcing auction, and the rule here is as soon as you realize there is no fit, just pass as soon as possible. In other words, look for the safest place to pass and do so. Once again, North opens a heart. South bids a spade. North bids 2 clubs, 5-5 in the 2 suits here. He's planning to rebid 3 clubs if he gets another chance. But now responder, instead of bidding 2 diamonds, which is 4th suit forcing to game, he bids 3 diamonds. That shows invitational values and 5-5 in those 2 suits. He jumped a level. With only 4 diamonds, he would have to rebid no trump, or in some partnerships, rebidding spades would be acceptable here. Usually when you rebid spades, you promise 6 of them and you show 6 to 9 points. If he were to rebid 2 spades, he would show not 5 spades and 11 high card points. He'd be showing 6 spades and 6 to 9 total points. So he jumps to 3 diamonds, which means I have an invitational hand, partner, and these are my 2 suits. I can't support either one of yours. Well, right away, North says, okay, he has an invitational hand. I have a minimum opening hand, and we don't have a good fit anywhere. The best I can do is pass 3 diamonds because I at least have more diamonds than I do spades. I wish my spade and diamond holdings were reversed because I'd rather play in the major. But I'm trusting partner that he has not even 2 card support for hearts, and he doesn't know that I have 5 clubs, but we don't fit well together, so I can't rebid 4 clubs. 4 clubs here would be a clear overbid, opposite only invitational values and hands that don't fit well together. Notice the club fit is at least as good as the diamond fit, but these hands don't fit well, and you don't have enough values for game in this kind of bidding sequence. So North just passes 3 diamonds and hopes that his partner can make it. With highly distributional hands, I mean, there's always the possibility that you can cross rough hearts and spades in the 2 hands after you take your club honors. Remember, you always want to take your outside honors before embarking on a cross rough. If the defenders are half smart in this situation, they'll lead a trump, because anytime the declarer is playing in his second suit, you know he's going to want to rough out some losers that he has in his first bid suit. I see some hands up. Sherry, what's your question?
Why is the 3 diamond bid not forcing?
Because it's a jump. It shows invitational values. 2 diamonds is the one that shows the game force. In other words, let's say that North opened a club and South bid a heart, and then North bid a spade and South bid 3 hearts. It's the same sort of situation. An invitational hand. He jumped to the 3 level. Does that make sense? Now, if you and your partners want to play that's a game force, you certainly can. But the 2 level bid is the one that's forcing the game, because remember, when you have big hands, you go slowly. South has no way of knowing whether there's a game here because he has only invitational values. He doesn't know how many points exactly his partner has, whether he has a shapely hand with 15 points, for instance, and he has a small singleton somewhere and couldn't open no trump, or whether he has what he has here, 13 high card points with a highly distributional hand. So he doesn't know whether his 11 points is enough to produce game or not. And so he says, I have invitational values, partner. Please pick between spades and diamonds. And opener doesn't have a problem. at all passing 3 diamonds. He just hopes that it can be made. So jumping in the 4th suit shows a hand that's not as good as the hand that bids it at the cheapest level, because when you have a big hand, you go slowly. Patty, do you have a question?
Cindy Crittenden asked in chat, did you say if South had 6 spades, he would rebid it rather than mention diamonds?
Yes, most likely he would. Simply because if my partner has 2 spades, I want to play in the spade suit. Now, there are some people with 6 spades and 5 diamonds who would bid diamonds twice. But when you don't have an opening hand, that takes a lot of bidding space. To bid spades forces you to the 2 level to begin with. And then when you want to bid diamonds twice, you're liable to find yourself at the game level before you have told your partner you have 6 spades. And that's the reason for that, Cindy. I know that's not typically the way that you bid a 6-5 hand, but when you're a responder, you have to think about, number one, how many points do I have? So how high can I force the bidding? Remember, responder's the guy who can force. So you have to be careful and think about that. When I have 6 spades, I have the boss suit with 6 of them, and I have 11 high card points, I'm going to try my very best to find a fit in spades. That's going to be my first option. Then if I rebid spades, if I had 6 of them and my partner had bid clubs twice, and my partner did not indicate any level of fit at all with the spade suit, then I would pass the clubs. But we're getting way beyond the scope of this hand here. Patty, do you have a question?
Yes. Comparing the previous hand with this hand,
Huh?
I'm not sure I understand why you would bid forcing on the first hand, because it seems very similar to, I mean, it's 11 high card points and this one's 10.
Yeah, you're right. You're
So
right.
why are you forcing to gang?
Well, for one thing, with 11 high card points and 2 5-card suits, I will call that a game forcing hand all day long. With 10 points and 2 5-card suits, it's a little iffy. I need to describe that hand as invitational.
Okay.
Because my partner, if I force to game and my partner only has 13 points and we're not fitting, remember the auction is telling us that our hands don't fit well together. Normally, when you have this kind of situation, you have this many high card points, you think it will produce a game. But when you have hands that don't fit, like these 2 don't, you need more points to be in game than you would if you had well-fitting hands.
So just that 1 point, 10 to 11 makes a big difference.
It's 10 opposite 13, and there is no fit.
Okay.
We've talked before about how a 9-card trump fit will often produce a game with only 23 or 24 high card points. The same thing is not true here because we don't have a fit. That's the whole point of this discussion today, is when you don't have a fit, you have to be much more careful and much more aware of the fact that you need more power to take the same number of tricks that you would take if your hands fit well together. Make sense? I hope.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Here we go. Now then. Oh, this was back to the other one. Yes, this is the 2 5-card suits here. Okay. Now, here's another example here of an auction with a hand where responder has the equivalent of a week 2 opening bid. His partner North opens a diamond, and he's got a perfectly lovely 2-heart opener. But in this case, if he bids 2 hearts, that shows a hand that is too weak to bid 1 heart. That's not the case, is it? He has 6 high card points and a 6-card suit. So his response is 1 heart. North says, of course you bid hearts. Of course. So North says, well, no, I'm not nutty about that at all. And responds 2 clubs. Notice, not 1 no trump. Not 1 no trump. That misstates, distorts the shape of the North hand. Incredible. He says, partner, I don't have 4 hearts with you. So sorry. South says 2 hearts. Partner, I don't care. If you don't have 4 hearts, I don't even care if you don't have 3 hearts. But I'm telling you, I have a weak hand over here. And if we play this hand, we need to play it in hearts. In this case, that is the big neon sign flashing in front of North that says pass, unless you have the kind of a hand that you would have when you want to respond to partner's week 2 opening bid. I see some hands up. Ella, do you have a question?
Yes, I want to know why the east hand doesn't bid
What would you like him to bid?
a no trump.
Well, I suppose he could. He could. In that case, then South would have to pass. He could bid 1 no trump entirely. That's right. Yeah, that's reasonable. It's just when I found this hand, they didn't show this hand. They did not show this hand as bidding, but that's definitely reasonable to overcall 1 no trump. And in that case, unless you and your partner have a good way to deal with interference like that, South obviously is too weak to bid his hearts at the 2 level. To show a preemptive hand, he'd have to bid 3 hearts, and he doesn't know whether his partner has any hearts at all or not. So I accept that, Ella. It could easily be a 1 no trump overcall, but this example that I found didn't show it. That's unusual because this source is usually very reliable. I should have looked more closely at that sample. The reason that I didn't is because, as I said, this author is usually extremely reliable on stuff like that. But my point is here, when South rebids 2 hearts, it says to partner, if we play this contract, we have to play it here. In general, when you have a weak hand with a long suit opposite a strong hand, the strong hand needs to let the weak hand with the long suit play the hand. You can see that there's only 1 entry to the dummy here if North tries to play the hand. That is not going to help him. He's not going to be able to take any kind of finesses to try to set up any suits. And so the only way this is going to have a chance of working well is if South plays no more than 2 hearts, certainly. Now, here's another example. This time, North opens a diamond again, a little bit different situation, except that he has a singleton spade again. Here we have South, who has 8 points this time. His hand's a little better. And of course, he has a singleton in the suit his partner bid. We know that's always going to happen. So South bids a spade. He says, oh, I hope. North says, 2 clubs. Nope, can't help you in spades, partner. South says, I insist. 2 spades. And here again, it's important for North to say, if my partner had opened 2 spades and it comes around to me, would I have bid? Would I have bid anything? The answer with this hand is no. This is 13 high card points and only 1 spade in his hand. So that means North needs to pass. Get that green card out as fast as possible. Same kind of situation. When the responder has a 6 card, particularly a 6 card major suit with 6 to 9 total points, he bids and rebids that suit, and that is the signal to opener to pass, unless he has a good enough suit to do otherwise.
Susan, there's a question from Patty.
All right, go right ahead, Patty.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. If was the 6 to 9, how many points maximum to do that?
Well, it's the week 2 opener. Whatever your point
Yeah.
rank is for a week 2, that's the kind of hand that bidding describes.
And so if North had like 16 points, would they go ahead and invite?
Well, probably not with one trump.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
if you had 2 trumps in your hand, then yeah, it would. In general, when you have this kind of situation, the opener needs 17 or more total points to bid on. When this is a misfit, remember?
Yeah.
It's a misfit. When the responder shows this kind of hand and you just don't have any help for him, don't try to run an ambulance service. Very often all you succeed in doing is just running off into the ditch. Partner has said, I have the equivalent of a week 2 opening here. And if he had opened 2 spades and you held that North hand, you would pass, wouldn't you, Patty? I certainly would. I would not try to, I would not try to force the bidding after partner rebids 2 spades. He's made it clear. And any further bidding by North is at his own risk because South has said all he intends to say. Okay, now, what does it mean if you play 2 over 1 and the responder bids the forcing 1 no trump and then bids a new suit? Well, I'm sure a lot of you remember that this is the same kind of bid. Here, North opens a spade. Responder has no choice but to bid 1 no trump forcing. And then the longer minor here for North, he doesn't have 6 spades. He doesn't have 4 hearts. So his next option is to bid the better minor or the longer minor. In this case, that's clearly clubs. But he promises only 3 cards. Now responder says 2 diamonds. That bid denies support for either one of opener suits. It says, I have 6 cards in this suit, partner, and no fit. When you didn't respond 2 heart or rebid 2 hearts over 1 spade, I can only play diamonds. I know you don't have 4 hearts, so that's not an option. We need to play 2 diamonds. Same situation exactly. Exactly the same situation. When there is a misfit, very often you will need more than the stated 26 high card points to make 3 no trump. I have had as many as 28 points between my 2 hands when I've been declaring and not been able to make 3 no trump because the hands are misfitted. When our hands are misfitted, then the opponent's hands are likely misfitted as well. Nothing breaks well. The cards are never where I need them to be. So when there's a misfit, get rid of this idea that you can still make game with 26 points. That is not necessarily the case, and you need to be aware of that. Be more careful when you're doing it. But when there is a misfit, an independent or self-sufficient suit can make up for a lack of high card points. Now, does anybody know what's meant by an independent or self-sufficient suit? A self-sufficient suit is one that can play opposite a singleton or a void with no problem. In other words, it has 4 of the top 6 cards in the suit. Those don't come along just every day. But when you have a suit like that, then you can afford to bid on more. Now then.
Susan.
Yes.
Barry has a question from the chat. Has opener limited his hand with his second bid in these auctions?
Well, he's limited his hand since he didn't jump shift. He's limited his hand to 12 to 18 points. With 19 total points, he would, in this particular auction right here, he'd rebid 3 clubs. But remember, these are auctions that are not game forcing. If you're in a game forcing auction, the opener doesn't jump to show a big hand because you're already in a forcing auction. But when the opener is weak and has not responded at the 2 level, then in this kind of auction here, North shows 12 to 18 total points. He could have more than 12 to 14 by virtue of the fact that this hand is unbalanced. It's well, it might be 5-3-3-2, but it's more likely 5-4-2-2 or 5-4-3-1. So if he had an unbalanced hand with worth 19 or more points, he bid 3 clubs instead of 2 clubs. So he's limited his hand here to 12 to 18 points. That means responder knows that there's probably not a game. Probably not a game here.
And Sherry has a question.
Go right ahead, Sherry.
How does the 2 diamond bid show 6 diamonds rather than 5 diamonds?
Because responder never does it unless he has at least 6. If he has one fewer diamond, maybe he has 5 hearts. Maybe he has 2 card spade support. There are any number of things he can do, but when you use 1 no trump forcing and then you rebid a suit that is not one of opener's first 2 suits, that says I have the equivalent of an opening week 2 bid, partner. I have 6 cards in the suit. I have fewer than 10 points. So he has to have 6 to bid a new suit. That, I mean, we already know at least 8 of North's cards and maybe 9. So the likelihood that he has a great number of diamonds isn't fabulous. And it's the same kind of situation no matter what happens when this comes up. That's why the responder has to have 6 cards in the suit. It should never be 5. You'll find yourself playing opposite a singleton or a void sometimes if you do that. And, you know, if you have 6 cards in your partner's void, then you have a really, really bad misfit, particularly if you can't rebid 2 of partner's first bid suit. Notice he can't. He has a stiff spade. So he cannot rebid 2 spades. He cannot bid clubs because partner may have only 3 of them. So here we are. And he knows partner doesn't have 4 hearts. So 2 diamonds is his choice. He's lucky he has 6 diamonds. If he didn't, if he had 2 spades, he'd just rebid 2 spades and hope partner can make it. If he had 3 clubs, he's just really going to be in a lot of trouble. If he had 3 clubs here and only 5 diamonds, that would be a really tough situation to be in. Depending on how the day was going that day would determine how I responded. But this bid, that 2 diamond bid, always shows 6 cards, always, without exception, in blood. Okay?
Thank you.
Bet. Here's another similar situation. North opens a spade. South bids 1 no trump force it. Notice this is a lot like these other hands we've been talking about. It's pretty weak, but it has 6 diamonds in it. And North has 4 hearts, and so he rebids 2 hearts. And South says, of course, I have the minors, you have the majors. Yuck. Now, 3 diamonds being the new suit at the cheapest level is to play. It is to play. North lacks the values to bid on here, especially when holding a singleton diamond. But I want you to consider something else. When North has a fitting honor in the suit that responder has bid this way, showing the equivalent of a week 2 in that suit, if he has a fitting honor, he can think about going on. Say if you reverse the holdings in clubs and diamonds in this in this hand here for North, and North had king third of diamonds and a singleton club, that would change the hand completely. he could consider bidding on, particularly if there were some competition. But there's a misfit here. So North needs to bid conservatively. He has 14 points and a singleton, but his singleton is in his partner's long suit. That means that singleton is not an asset, and his hand is not worth nearly what he had thought it might be worth. So if the club and diamond holdings were reversed, I would feel a lot better about it, certainly. I would know we have a fit in diamonds. I would also know, though, that my partner has the equivalent of a week 2 opening. And even with 3-card support, we're already at the 3 level. But we have a good chance of making it if my clubs are in diamonds. If I have the king 4-2 of diamonds instead of the king 4-2 of clubs, then I feel much better about the situation. This is going to be kind of a tough deal. You can see this club king here is trapped between the west and east hands. He's going to lose some clubs, 2 or 3 at least. He does have the 10, but by the time the 10 is set up, he is going to have pulled all the trumps. So this hand is fraught with peril. And even though North has 14 high card points and a singleton, every sign that's there says pass is the order of the day. So here's another situation that often happens. Sometimes advancer has no support for an overcaller, and he bids a different suit. What does that mean? Is that forcing? With most pairs, it is not forcing. This is where the rules between overcaller and advancer differ from those from opener and responder. The overcaller may have as few as 8 high card points. So you want to be careful. If you have a weak hand with no support, you absolutely never try to rescue your partner. It's only when you have a reasonable hand with no support that you would bid a different suit. For instance, in this auction, West opened a diamond, North is the overcaller, and he overcalled a heart. Notice, this is a full opener. Advancer has no way of knowing that, but he can't double for takeout, and he has a 5-card major, so why would he want to? He bids 1 heart, and Advancer East passes, and Advancer says, oh yeah, of course you bid hearts. Well, I have 8 high card points and a 6-card club suit and only a singleton heart. My suit is at least as good as yours, I think. My hand may not be as good as yours, but I'm sure that my 6-card suit headed by 2 of the top 3 honors is good enough to bid 2 clubs. And I can do that because this is a non-forcing bid. It is constructive. And by constructive, I mean it says, I have no support for your suit, partner. That means that he doesn't even have 2 hearts because partner has promised 5 here. He doesn't even have 2 hearts. So he bids 2 clubs saying, no support for hearts, but I have a decent hand and I have a good suit. Do you have support for me? And when the overcaller passes, he says, no, I do not. But notice, they're in a 6-1 fit instead of a 5-1 fit. A rebid of 2 hearts here by the overcaller would indicate a self-sufficient suit, saying, I understand you don't have support for me at all. I don't care about your hearts. I have a self-sufficient suit. Don't worry about it. Well, overcaller doesn't have a self-sufficient suit, so he can't rebid hearts. So in this case, it is best for him to pass because advancer should never bid a new suit with a weak hand. He just passes and hopes the partner can make it. This is a decent hand with a 6-card suit in it, a decent suit.
Would he need 6 hearts to rebid that?
Yes. He should have a self-sufficient suit with 6 cards in it.
Susan, Patty asked in the chat, I thought you needed 10 points to go to the two level.
No, remember, this is not opener and responder. This is overcaller and advancer. Don't get the 2 roles confused.
Okay, and then another question from the chat, Cindy Crittenden, I think on the previous chart, asked, if partnership does not bid one no trump forcing, do the same rules hold true that you are discussing?
No, they do not. If one no trump is not forcing, then the opener can pass. Remember? So it is different. It is different if you don't play 2 over 1. But most of you guys do, I think, and that's why I put that in. Gail, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm totally confused now. What are the rules for overcaller and advanced, or how they're different from opener and responder?
Advancer may pass with 6 or more points if he has no fit for partner. Responder should never do that. The only time that advancer would raise here would be as if he had three card support for partner suit. He's passed. Let's say advancer had 3 card heart support. He should definitely raise here, but he doesn't. Advancer says, you may have only 8 points, partner. I know you just overcalled, and you're not going to like playing 1 heart with an 8-point hand, 5 hearts, and a singleton in my hand. The opponents are going to have more trumps than you do. I have a good suit of my own. I have, if you look at this suit, if you look at this hand, I'm not going to give myself anything for the singleton heart, because a singleton and partner suit is not an asset. But I am going to give myself 2 points for my 5th and 6th club, and I'm going to bid 2 clubs because I think my suit is as good or better than my partner's. That's the only time I should bid as advancer. If I don't have a suit that's worthy of bidding, then I just pass and let partner try to make 1 heart. But I do have an alternative here. I have 2 of the top 3 honors with 6 cards in the suit. So I'm denying heart support, asking for support from my partner. When he passes, he denies support. We're at the 2 level instead of the 1 level. But if you notice, this club suit is better than the heart suit, simply by virtue of the fact that there are 6 of them instead of 5. Now, overcaller can bid again if he has a self-sufficient suit. His failure to do so indicates that his suit is not self-sufficient. Self-sufficient suits can play opposite singletons. So the overcaller here shows good judgment when he passes 2 clubs. There's no guarantee that 2 clubs is going to make. As it happens, the opener is sitting in front of the overcaller, so the spade king rates to be something that would be safe from attack, but you never know. There shouldn't be much in the way of a heart loser. We're going to lose the diamond ace, and we might lose a couple of clubs. There's actually a decent chance to make 2 clubs here. 1 heart is much more problematic. For one thing, the heart values are, we hope, the king is with the opener, but you never know about stuff like this. I mean, you can say, oh, well, this guy was the opener and he probably has the king of hearts. About the time I make that assumption, that turns out to be wrong. East doesn't have to be broke. He just may not have a suitable bid here. He may not have 4 spades, may not have 4 or 5 diamonds in support, or maybe he has 4 hearts and North took his bid. East doesn't have to be broke here. That's another thing to keep in mind. So The rules for overcaller and advancer are different because overcaller can have as few as 8 high card points. Advancer does not bid unless he really thinks he has a suit that is as good or better than his partner's suit, and he has no support for the suit his partner bid. And he has to have more than that minimum 6 to 9 points. This looks like a hand that's like this, but this hand has a lot of shape. Unfortunately, it's not great shape. But that's the way that opener and responders rules differ from those for overcaller and advancer. Advancer only does this. I mean, if he had 2 hearts here, he'd pass. 5-2 fits aren't perfect, but they're playable. 5-1 fits are a nightmare. Ask me how I know that.
Thank you.
All right. Let's have another look. Here's another example of a hand that has a self-sufficient suit but is weak. West opens a heart. North bids 2 diamonds. Note if he had 1 more club, he might bid the unusual 2 no trump. This is a great hand. He's got 16 points, but he has a void. So overcalling a no trump is not advised, and to say nothing of the fact that he has no heart stop. So he bids his longer suit first, 2 diamonds. And East is pretty much busted over here. And he says, well, I do have 4 diamonds, but I'm not about to bid. And he passes. And South bids 2 spades. A nice 7-card suit. A singleton diamond. I don't think there's anybody here who wouldn't bid 2 spades with this hand. Yeah, it doesn't have 10 points, but look at it. It has a self-sufficient suit in it, and there are 7 of them. No, partner, I only have a singleton diamond. I'm going to suggest spades here. West says, okay, I'm out of this auction. And North says, oh, of course you bid spades. Somebody had to have the spades, and of course it's my partner. But I'm going to show my partner that I have a better than minimum overcall here. He's at the very top for doubling and originating a minor suit. He's not quite good enough to double and originate in a minor. So he started with diamonds, and now he's going to bid clubs. He bids 3 clubs. And I'm sorry, there's a typo there in the first line. That 3 club bid is not forcing. It is not forcing. Overcaller is just describing a 2-suited hand, saying I was right close to the top for doubling and originating, partner. I have a maximum for my overcall. And South says, I don't care. I really don't care. If you bid hearts, well, obviously West bid hearts. You're not going to bid hearts. I have enough hearts that I could have passed a heart bid, but I can't stand either one of these. It looks like to me that you're 5-4 in the minor suits here, and neither one of those suits in my hand are worthy. But I have a self-sufficient suit. I don't care if you have a singleton. I don't even care if you have a void, because I have 7 of these. That means even if you don't have any, I have more trumps than the opponents do. And they are good trumps. Look at those spot cards. I mean, King, Queen, Jack, 10, 9. That's 5 of the top 6. That more than meets the definition of a self-sufficient suit. But after a 3-spade bid, which shows a self-sufficient suit, North has to take a deep breath and think hard. If South had had a good hand, he'd have jumped to 3 spades with his first bid. He has bid minimally, and he shows 6 or 7 spades, and he shows self-sufficiency. With a weak hand, he would take a preference back to the first bid suit, even with only 1 of them. If he only had 5 spades and it wasn't self-sufficient, or if he had 6 spades and it was ace queen out, he'd take a preference to one of the overcaller suits. He did not do that. Bidding three spades says, partner, self-sufficient. I wouldn't bid on with my weak hand. You know, we've got an opener over here in West, and you know what you've got. You've told me that you're right up there against the top of our overcalling range here. You know that I don't have a lot of points. I can't have a lot of points here, but I have a self-sufficient suit. North might be tempted to bid four spades. I mean, we know that there are some cards in other suits in the South hand. You know, we hope there are a couple of clubs or a couple of diamonds at least to be able to get to the dummy. But you can see that there are three heart losers right off the top here and the ace of trumps. So as it turns out, North can take a deep breath and think, but he needs to pass three spades. This is the way the responder, or the advancer, the advancer shows a self-sufficient suit. He has a weak hand, but he has a very strong suit. Notice, 6 points, all he has. But this hand has a good deal more playing strength in it than the 6 points would indicate, simply because of that self-sufficient suit. It is time for North to let South play the hand. This is in keeping with what I told you earlier. When you have a strong hand and a weak hand with a long suit, it is generally preferable to let the hand with the long suit that is weak declare.
Susan,
Yes.
Kathy has a question from the chat. How do I know that North has that strong hand?
Because he wouldn't, without that strong a hand, he would not bid a second suit. He might rebid diamonds, but he's showing you a strong two-suited minor when he does this. He didn't double and originate, so I know he doesn't. Say our limit for overcalls is 7 to 17 points or 7 to 16 points. I know that he is right up against that top edge. He wouldn't bid a new suit if he didn't have that many points. He would rebid the diamond suit if he had it, or if he didn't, he were just a minimum overcaller. He might rebid diamonds, or if he had a couple of spades in his hand, he would pass spades. Remember, overcalling only promises in general, like my card says, 7-ish to 17. Many people use 8 points for the minimum for an overcall. Well, what happens when you have 15 or 16 points? You bid differently. You bid a 15 or 16 point hand differently from the way you bid an 8 point hand. When you're a minimum overcaller and your partner bids a new suit, you generally just put down the green card. Because partner's already said when he bids a new suit that he has no tolerance for your suit. And in this case, let's take away that ace and king of clubs here and make them little clubs. In that case, he'd probably pass 2 spades because he knows partner has no tolerance for diamonds and he has no tolerance for spades. Sometimes you just have to get out. Remember, if there's no fit, you quit. It may not be a good place to play at all, but you have to find a soft place to land, or at least you hope it's soft. It may not be very soft, but you have to find a place where you can pass. Remember, when overcaller's minimum, he generally will not bid again, even when partner advancer bids a new suit. But in this case, overcaller did bid again. He didn't double and originate, double and bid a new minor suit. He bid diamonds and then clubs. He's showing a strong hand with 2 suits that wasn't quite right for the unusual 2 no trump. You know, the unusual 2 no trump can be done with a lot of points as well. So now what happens when both hands have a long suit in it? Well, we've all seen this kind of thing happen, haven't we? North opens the diamond. South bids a spade. North bids 2 diamonds. South bids 2 spades. North bids 3 diamonds, South bids 3 spades. Who's going to give up? Somebody has to. It is usually a better idea to let the weaker hand be the declarer. It just works out better. Just take my word for it. So North needs to give up and say, okay, partner, I told you, I have great long diamonds, no support for spades. I'm going to pass and hope you can make it. Notice when each hand has a void in the partner's suit, you can't even take a finesse. That's just awful, just awful. But, stuff happens at the bridge table, certainly. So the sooner, both these guys have 7-card suits. And in general, it is better to let the weaker hand with the long suit declare it, play it. Now, one more time, in case you're not convinced here, I'm going to show you another example. Here, South opens a club, North bids a heart. South bids 2 clubs and says, of course you bid hearts. Of course, I knew you were going to bid hearts. Now, North bids 2 hearts. I have the equivalent of a weak 2 in hearts, partner. South says, I don't care. This is, this is an example of a hand that has 7 cards in it. I would like to have the king of clubs as well, but I have 100 honors in clubs. I have a nice, strong hand, and I'm going to bid 3 clubs, hoping that partner has some. Well, you can see that he doesn't. The only time that opener bids on is if he has a self-sufficient suit. 4 of the top 6 is kind of arbitrary for that, but notice that club suit can play well opposite a singleton or a void. That meets my definition has always been plays well opposite a singleton or a void, but I've read some other authors who say it contains 4 of the top 6 cards. I think that's a little bit restrictive myself, because I think that club suit should qualify as self-sufficient. It can be played for only one loser, and that meets my definition for a self-sufficient suit. So even that, notice North's heart suit is not nearly as good as South's club suit. This is the only time that opener bids on when responder has shown a weak hand with a long suit, the equivalent of the weak 2 bid. He has a self-sufficient suit of his own. The only time he bids on. Now, the important thing to think about is when the opener holds a singleton and responder's long suit. Is anybody here familiar with the rule of 17? That's one of Mel's rules, and it's one of the better known ones. If your partner opens a weak 2 bid, you count your number of high card points plus the number of cards you hold in the suit that partner bid, and if it's 17 or more, go on. Well, basically, when the opener has a singleton in the suit that partner has shown to be the equivalent of a weak 2, he needs 17 or more total points. That's basically what you're counting when you use that rule of 17 to continue the bidding. The only exception, again, is when the opener has an independent suit. And all that does is reduce the required number of points. If he has an independent suit, he can continue bidding with as few as 15 total points. Now, if the responder bids his suit for a 3rd time, the 2nd time shows the equivalent of the weak 2 opening. If he bids it a 3rd time, he needs to have 7 cards. Okay? Needs to have 7 cards and an independent suit. Well, it would probably do to have 6, I guess. But if he bids his suit 3 times, it needs to be independent. If he bids it and rebids it only once for a total of bidding it twice, then it is the equivalent of a week 2 opening. Here, North opens a diamond. South bids a heart, of course. Opener rebids 2 clubs. South bids 2 hearts. North says, oh, I have a great hand over here. I really do. But I only have a singleton heart. I'm wondering if we could play no trump, partner, to no trump. What do you think? Now, for South to rebid hearts, he needs a self-sufficient suit. He doesn't have it, but he has 9 high card points, and his partner did not pass 2 hearts. He knows his partner has more than a minimum opening hand. With a minimum opening hand, he would pass 2 hearts. But he bid 2 no trump instead. And South says to himself, I have 9 high card points. Not real sure about that jack of spades, but I have a 6 card heart suit. And hopefully partner can get to my hand in clubs to be able to take some heart tricks. So he bids 3 no trump. For him to bid 3 hearts, he needs to have an independent suit saying, I don't care if you're void. I can play over here opposite a singleton or a void. In this case, South cannot do that. He cannot do that. So he either passes 2 no trump or bids 3. And with 9 high card points and a 6 card suit, I'd be tempted to bid 3 no trump myself. It may be a bit of a problem here because of the entries are not exactly plentiful, but because he has the queen and the 10, there's a chance here that he can get over to the board later on. One last thing here. South's the dealer and opens 1 heart. North bids 2 spades. 9 high card points, 6 spades. South rebids 2 diamonds, showing at least 5-4 distribution. North says 2 spades. Partner, think hard. If you bid on, South says, oh, I have a really good hand. I've got 17 high card points over here, partner. And I've got a fabulous heart suit. I think that we have a good play for 2 no trump here. What do you think? And with 9 high card points and a 6 card suit, North is absolutely right to bid the game. Now, South's bidding promises, he didn't jump shift to 3 diamonds, so the top limit he can have is 18 total points. He has at least 5 hearts and 4 diamonds. North's bidding shows that minimum responding hand with at least 6 spades. But South has an independent suit of his own. It's only 5 cards, but that's 5 sure tricks, folks, along with considerably more than minimum values. So there's enough here to continue bidding, even though North has shown that hand that would have opened 2 spades if he could. So remember, the most important thing to remember about bidding with misfit hands is if there is no fit and you don't have enough for game, quit as soon as possible. If you're in a game-forcing auction, you may have to play a 4-3 fit. You may have to play a 5-2 fit. Make the best descriptive bids that you can so that you and your partner can end up in the best possible contract. But bottom line is, if there is no fit, quit bidding as soon as you can. Thanks for coming, everybody. And
Hi, this is Susan. Thanks for watching this video today. Most of these videos come from our free bridge lessons that we present on Zoom every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. If you'd like to join us for those lessons, you can email us at the address shown below and we'll send you the link. If you can't attend the lessons, then feel free to subscribe to our channel and you'll be notified when there is a new one added. Again, thanks for stopping by and we hope to see you soon.